Newsbud is a truly independent alternative because it is 100% people funded. Without you, we cannot build the independent news source that we, the people, deserve. Visit Kickstarter.com and support Newsbud. Welcome everyone, I'm Spiro with Newsbud. We recently interviewed HSBC Whistleblower from the UK, Nicholas Wilson, on his successful campaign against HSBC. Now, this is such an important interview, we featured it on our Kickstarter page. Now, Mr. Wilson's campaign against HSBC is still ongoing in the UK form of a class action lawsuit. For more information on this suit, links will be provided in the show notes. Now, Mr. Nicholas Wilson has been a busy man and recently announced his candidacy for MP, as Member of Parliament in Hastings Rye. Now, this is a major development, and to talk more about this, we have Nicholas Wilson joining us today. Mr. Wilson, thank you for joining us and welcome back.
Hi, Spiro. Thank you for your continued support.
Mr. Wilson, what made you decide to run as a candidate?
I mean, there's a Chinese expression, the best way to crack an egg is from the inside. I mean, basically, there are no MPs which are tackling the kind of corruption which I'm tackling. They just won't do it because they're all owned by the banks, the whole, especially the Tory party. I should say that I have put feelers out to the Labour Party, which is our Bernie Saunders, if you like, our socialist party, and I've suggested that I stand for them in Hastings, but they, in their usual arrogant way, they've ignored me. So I've decided to go ahead as an independent to stand on an anti-corruption platform. I'm not very popular in Hastings.
Well, who is the current MP for your constituency?
Well, the current MP is our Home Secretary, Amber Rudd. But fortunately for me, given that I'm on an anti-corruption platform, she's got plenty of material for me to deal with.
Now, what are some of the issues that you'll be campaigning on, and how can you affect change?
Well, two main platforms. One is anti-corruption. By corruption, I mean the nexus between politicians and the banks. My whistleblowing is about debt recovery and fraud that was perpetrated by HSBC. The fact of the matter is that the majority of world trade by banks is in debt. I mean, the subject of debt affects everybody. It underpins the whole world economy. And certainly in the UK, I don't know about in the States, but I'm sure it's the same too. The debt recovery industry is just riddled with fraud. In fact, I do subscribe to an American news site, I think 360 Law or something it's called, and almost every day there's a new fine or punishment against debt recovery procedures in the States as well. So I know it's rife, but it's very little regulation. Certainly in the UK, there's virtually no regulation. So debt affects everybody. If you have a mortgage, you have a loan, you have a payday loan, everybody has some kind of debt. And the debt industry is riddled with fraud and nobody is dealing with it. So I hope to get elected first, primarily on that platform. Secondly, on a platform to bring in legislation to protect whistleblowers, which is something obviously that your channel, Newsbud, would be particularly interested in. Whistleblowers in the UK, well, in the States too, I know, but certainly in the UK we don't have any kind of reward system, which I'm not suggesting is necessarily the way forward, but I would bring in legislation to have a separate register for whistleblowers to register before they blow the whistle so that they're protected in law. And then if there's any future persecution of them because they blew the whistle, then that would be a criminal offence. And the revolving door, if I may just finish on the corruption thing, I would like to abolish the revolving door between private-public sector appointments. So many MPs like David Cameron, George Osborne, and Tony Blair, they leave office and go straight to a well-paid job at banks. You know, or MPs who, you know, have brought in legislation for, say, tobacco companies, or so, they end up working with the tobacco companies. The corruption is Roberto Saviano, an Italian who wrote Gomorrah, an Italian expert on the mafia who lives under police protection now. He said the UK is the most corrupt country in the world. and I think he's right.
Well, Mr. Wilson, you recently took a trip to London to the HSBC AGM Shareholders Conference, where you confronted the chairman of HSBC, Douglas Flint. Let's play a clip of that now.
Gentleman over there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nicholas Wilson, also known as Mr. Ethical, and proposed parliamentary candidate for Hastings and Rye. You said 2 years ago that whistleblowers should be celebrated and rewarded, so here I am. In 2014 financial reform campaigner Joel Benjamin asked HSBC what the bank's proposals were, provisions regarding a massive consumer debt fraud. You misled him. In 2015 he asked again. You misled him. Last year I asked you. You misled me. You have continued to deny responsibility for the fraud and to mislead shareholders, and the bank has lied to the FCA, the OFT and to Parliament. In January this year, the FCA announced that HSBC had voluntarily agreed to repay £4 million in redress to 6,700 customers. You may be aware that I had a further meeting with the FCA in February, because I now have county court judgment records for the period in question. These show that in excess of £200 million in improper charges were added during that period. Will the bank now bring an end to this deceit and play proper redress, or will you keep relying on your politically appointed Lords Evans, Rose, Green and Janvrin, a paid-off Conservative Party and a supine Rona Fairhead controlling the BBC to protect you?
Wow, what a question. We don't rely on any of the people that you've mentioned to protect us, because we let the facts speak for themselves. This is a dispute that goes back 2003 to 2009, and we've been in correspondence with you and with the Ombudsman and regulators for a long period of time, where there is some disagreement on the facts. You mentioned a figure of 200 million. I think the last time you stood up, you said that the recompense due was over £1 billion, and actually, having gone through this in detail with the FCA, we've agreed with them that voluntarily to settle with customers who were affected, and this is all over the amount of charges that were levied for defaulted accounts was in the order of £4 million, and we're in the process of reaching out to the 6,700 customers that we've identified may have been impacted. No, I don't think it is a lie, but we haven't agreed on this for about 10 years, so it would be unlikely if we agree now. We have been fully transparent with the FCA and others who have asked us questions on that, and we will continue to do what's right. Is there a second question, please?
Mr. Wilson, what is your take on the chairman of HSBC, Douglas Flint's response to your question?
Same as last year. I actually asked him the question last year. And he just mocked me and said, oh, we've been dealing with this for years, why don't you go away? And then in January of this year, it was announced that HSBC had agreed to pay £4 million to 6,700 customers. But as you saw, when I asked that question on Friday, he mocked me again. He said, well, last time you were here, you said it was £1 billion. But the fact is, it's the Americans' fault. You have a bank called HFC, Household Finance Corporation, who set up here in the 1970s and started practicing these illegal, which is illegal in the UK, these illegal charges since the 1970s. So it's been going on for, how long is that, 40 years? And so over that period, it is £1 billion. But HSBC only purchased HFC Bank in 2003. So, as you'll see in my questions to Flint, I said the total within the period since 2003 is probably 200 million. But over the whole period, and HSBC ultimately are liable. I mean, if we had the records back to, say, 1980 of somebody having one of these illegal charges, HSBC will be liable, except they've now put HFC into liquidation.
Mr. Wilson, why should people vote for you for Member of Parliament?
Well, as I said before, there's nobody in Parliament on that platform dealing with corruption. In the UK, we have this thing called parliamentary privilege, which means an MP is able to say things in Parliament freely without risk of being sued for libel. So I can't be gagged in Parliament. And that's a very powerful tool, because I will be able to challenge corruption at source, because usually the source is members of parliament, and I'll be able to challenge some of the things that I'm exposing on my website. I work a lot with another financial campaigner, Joel Benjamin, who is recently discovering a huge scandal involving backdoor payments by HSBC to the Tory party. That kind of thing I will be able to deal with in Parliament. It'll be a hard sell in Hastings, because people in Hastings will say, well, what will you do for us? But the bottom line is debt affects everybody. It's not left or right. It's not a political issue. It affects everybody's lives. And I would hope to bring in legislation which will protect people from some of the corruption that's going on.
Well, what can people do to support your campaigns, and where's the best place to go for them to find out more?
Well, my website is nicholaswilson.com, or just Google Mr. Ethical. I haven't yet put I'm not officially a candidate yet. I have until the 11th of May, and I have to pay a deposit, I have no money at all. I'm still unemployed on benefits. So I have no money for my campaign. Somebody is offering to pay the deposit, which is £500, and I have to register and pay the deposit by the 11th of May. So at the moment, the front page of my website, my website itself has 500 pages of evidence of HSBC fraud, but the front page at the moment is a holding page for my campaign as a candidate. But I will add more information to that when I'm formally a candidate.
And when is the election?
8th of June.
8th of June, okay. Well, Mr. Nicholas Wilson, thank you so much for joining us today. Good luck on your campaigns, and we'd like to have you back throughout your campaigns for updates.
Thank you, Spiro. I'll be there.
Well, Newsbud would like to thank all of our supporters for making what we do possible. Newsbud is currently running our Phase 3 Kickstarter campaign, and as you know, we are 100% people funded, so we do not run any ads. We do not receive any government kickbacks or foundation money, so go to Kickstarter and support independent media and support Newsbud.
You, our generous supporters and community members, are the reason we exist. You are the power that has kept us operating and expanding towards this amazing success. And you are the sole determinant of the continuation and steady expansion of Newsbud operations. Please join us. Join the Newsbud movement by kindly and generously pledging towards this 100% people-funded media with integrity. Yes, we have accomplished a lot, but this is only the beginning, and that is my promise to you.